Hey, what's going on out there, man? Y'all know what it is. One thing about it, time heals all wounds, but y'all know what we coming, man.
Hmm.
You already know that with
Uh-oh.
what's been going on with these interviews, man, and things of that nature. Oh, we just gonna cut it. Let's just cut to the chase, man. We
Okay.
just gonna talk to y'all
Let's
about the
get the
second
check.
half of the episode 2 of the Legacy Sports Locker Room, the Legacy Locker Room podcast with Henry Douglas, Julio Jones, and Roddy White. We're just gonna give y'all that right quick, and I just think it's gonna be interesting to see how y'all react to this. If y'all haven't seen it, please go check it out on Squad
Right.
because they had it on YouTube, but it got taken down because it was copywritten.
Oh yeah,
And
you know that.
we just gonna give y'all our take if y'all seen it already. But before I get started, man, tell the people what's up.
Hey man, what's going on, everybody? Like I said, part two, we said we was gonna come back with it. I know we kind of already touched on it before, but it was more in depth. We actually got the whole thing this time. So just coming with the final part on the back end of, so everything that, Julio said his part and said his speech, mostly at the beginning and a little bit at the end. But we also got one of our favorite Falcons, regardless of how you feel about Julio, everybody should be on the same page about Roddy White. We all should be on the same page about, we know that he's Ring of Honor. We already know respectable guy, definitely in the Falcons community. So he told the entire story about him, Kyle Shanahan, possibly moving on to other teams, and even, a sit down conversation with Dan Quinn. So we're going to talk about all that, man. Let's get into it.
Yeah, we definitely gonna get into that, man. But before I do, man, y'all know we got to give a shout out to the chat, man. Shout out to my big bro John Higgins. John called me the other day, man. He was pissed about the Kyle Pitt situation, and rightfully
Mm,
so. Because if you hearing the rumors and the narratives and what's going on, usually when they holding the player out or the injury pops up this early in the OTAs, mini counts and things of that nature, it's trade talk shortly behind that. And that's what's
mm,
been going on with Kyle Pitts for the last month or two about trades. So now you wonder which way it's going to go. If he stays, I'm fine with it. If he goes, I'm fine with it. But John had a gripe about it, and I understood where he was coming from. But again, I just think it may be time for everybody to go their own way. It might be good for everybody. But what's up, Big John, man? What's good? My boy William Amy checking in. Tyreek Johnson checking in. Robert Blackman, what's good, my dude?
what's good?
What's
What's good?
good?
Yes, sir.
But yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting to see how it pans out because um with Kyle Pitts, you just never know. Are they gonna take a chance and play out most of the season with him and trade him at the deadline? Or they're gonna say, hey, let me get what I can for him now because that 10.8 million turns into probably 16 or 17 million next year. And has
Right.
he put up that kind of production? I would say probably no. Because I think the comparison is probably at Trey McBride's contract, which is around 17 million a year. And if they do
That's
give him
about
that kind of money, yeah, if I'm the Falcons, I would backload the hell out of it. Let
that's
him play the first couple of years at around what he playing around now between 10 and 12 million. And then if he makes it to the back end of the contract, then the number goes up to 17 to 20 million. I could do that. But just paying him right off the top, no, I don't see it.
the thing about it. Another thing too about that Kyle Pitts situation, his contract, he's getting due like what 10, 11 mil, and you got to think about it like this: does anybody want to take on that contract as well with the lack of production that he has had? It's like, do you want to take that on? So I feel like if it happens, if it does happen, I feel like it would be more so into the season. So of course, when that number comes down, you already know by the trade deadline, that contract that he's getting paid is going to be half of that, maybe even a little, maybe even a tad bit less. So I can see something then because the lump number will be a little lower, but I think you just got to let Kyle Pitts ride it out at this point. Michael Penix is every time we mention Kyle Pitts, Michael Penix has nothing but nice things to say about him. So,
Right.
and his voice has to mean something. My quarterback, young and all, but that's my field general, and his voice has to mean something. We have to do some things right.
Absolutely, absolutely. When you talk about franchise game changing players, Kyle could be one of those guys. But at this point, I think Drake London's going to get his money. But
Mhm.
Kyle Pitts, he may get paid if he stays here, but it's not going to be the money that he wants. He has to prove himself. And the good thing about it, if he does stay, he's still on 25 years old, so he
Mhm.
has enough time to turn everything around and just do what he need to do as a player.
Right. Right.
So hey, it happens.
Was
But again, man, we're gonna talk right quick about the Roddy comments. And if you watch the show, you would know where we were going. And
Mhm.
y'all feel free to comment while we're talking. At the end of the show, we're gonna give y'all our final thoughts on Kirk Cousins because I'm not talking about it again unless he
Mhm.
gets traded. But we're gonna give y'all
Yeah.
our thoughts at the end. At the end. But again, Roddy White. Um, he pretty much came out and talked about on the show his final days in Atlanta and what led up to it, and we saw a
Right.
snippet of it in our first episode that we did about this.
Right.
Uh, and you talk about having those hard conversations. The Falcons don't do that, and they should learn how to have hard conversations. And we all knew the way that he left, it wasn't right because of Kyle Shanahan. He talked about going through practice, running through routes, and game planning for the game. They run these same plays in the game, but you taking me out the game for Leonard Hankerson. And the crazy thing about it, and he talked about it.
Not even just him. Jacob
Leonard,
Tammy.
right?
Everybody.
But I'm saying that the play designed for him, he would take him out of the
Right.
game for the play that was designed for him, and it was just super foul on so many levels. You talk about Kyle Shanahan and how his offense is ran, and Roddy, the way, and Julio talked about it too. Roddy is physical. He's a locker room presence. He's a presence on the sideline, and you just sitting up here just treating him just like he's a first or second year rookie. So
Well,
I just
ego
think
plays a part into a lot of things, though, Smitty.
absolutely,
And
absolutely,
we
absolutely,
already know Kyle Shanahan with that Shanahan name. His dad, Big Bag Mike, what I'm saying, of course, some respectable coach, Super Bowl winning coach. He's trying to come in there with his ego. And honestly, his ego played a big part in Roddy White, what I'm saying, exit in Atlanta. You heard Roddy say it himself. I think I got into it with Kyle Shanahan just a little bit too much. And we talked about that in our first episode. Roddy is a no nonsense guy. He's not going to be going for all that bull jive. And at the end of the day, like he said, you got to be real with me because I'm about to lose my ish.
yeah,
And Kyle didn't want the conflict. Kyle didn't want a player, even though he had equity into the Falcons, telling him what to do, what not to do, or just challenging him. Let me just say that, just challenging him. He didn't want that. And again, it's quite unfortunate because just listening to it over and over again about Leonard Hankerson, Jacob Tammy. I mean, respectable to Devontae Freeman, but I'm just saying, regardless, all those guys that were named have never been Roddy White, and Roddy still had gas left in the tank. And if we just would have let him play his contract out, Roddy White could have played into the Super Bowl, something that he definitely deserved to do, something that he never got a chance to do. And I do believe Roddy White on that sideline or just in that Super Bowl game, I do believe 28-3 may happen, but we still end up winning the game. At the end of the day, I don't care as long as we won the game, right, Smitty? As long as we get to
right,
hoist that trophy, that's all that matters. Even if we won 31-28, 31-30, all I would have knew was the dub. And
yeah.
it's quite unfortunate, bro. It's quite
And they
unfortunate.
talked about it as well. Um, if he had been here, the game would have just changed. We're not going to keep it all on the negative. He did speak something positive about his first playoff. His best time here was his first playoff run in 2008. A game they lost in Arizona, which I feel like they should have won, but Arizona was a
Bro,
tough team that year because they
they
ended
were.
up making it to the Super Bowl that year.
They
So,
did.
in that aspect, that was a tough team. But
Hey
to get
Smitty,
that, uh,
remember way back then, it would seem like beat the Falcons, get to the Super Bowl.
yeah,
Remember that? Remember we had that whole trend going on. It was just like, Lord. Yeah, so yeah, just old wounds, boy.
yeah, man. So in that aspect, man, I just think that he just got done wrong, man. And I said the same thing with Julio. The way both of those guys got pushed to the side, like they was some $2 hoes. It
Lord
was
have
just
mercy.
ridiculous. Because if you just think about in Julio, um, the year Roddy left, he talked about it. The year that Roddy's last year in Atlanta is the year that Julio almost caught 2,000 yards. Because him and Antonio Brown were neck and neck in yards.
They were.
Julio had just a tad bit more receptions, and I think Antonio Brown had more touchdowns. And they only went 8-8 that year.
Yep.
And the very next year, you add some more receivers. You add Taylor Gabriel. You still have Jacob Tammy, Austin Hooper, and those guys. Devontae Freeman and Tevin Campbell, Coleman.
Coleman, look at you.
Hey, I told you I just
I'm
got
just
it.
gonna buy you his album, bro. That's it.
No, I don't want it.
I'm gonna buy
but-
Smitty the Tevin Coleman album because that way you.
But if you just look at and see, this is why I said on the first part when we talked about this, it only takes one bad domino effect for everything to go south. So think about it. Roddy leaves. He leaves Julio, and Julio has to take over, his part of the deal. And Leonard Hankerson, as he talked about, the guy that they tried to put in front, who they actually put in front of Julio, he suffered a hamstring injury, and he was cut it halfway through the year.
And I remember that.
And the crazy part about that, though, Chris, halfway through the year, you cut this dude, but at the same time, you don't have nobody to pick up that production. So
where the production coming from?
This is the classic case of ego, like you said, ego, or I run this show or things of that nature. And my thing to you, and to everybody in the chat, what the hell was Dan Quinn doing?
Bro,
I want to know.
About to say it.
I want to know. Because Roddy said Dan Quinn stepped to him and asked him what was going on. And it shouldn't have got to that point.
They sat down, they dinner, and had a conversation.
Right. Think about this, though. If we talked about this with Raheem Morris, about him seeing what's going on in the field with Kirk Cousins and injury and things of that nature, you mean to tell me you're not checking in your wide receiver rooms or, your means of position means to see what's going on with the team? Because as the head coach, you got to have your hand on every single position on this team. So when you look at it,
pop in.
I think at the end of the day, that's what makes a strong coach.
Right.
One that can implement his rules without even having to say a word. And that not only with Kyle Shanahan, to me, that just feel like he was disrespecting Dan Quinn as well by not putting the best players on the field to make this team better. So in 2015, Roddy said it. He knew he wasn't coming back, especially if Kyle was going to be here.
Nope.
So just think about that. You already know what the deal is when somebody does that to you.
Right.
So
and that's why I'm up, like, for me, I was upset about, for Dan in this situation. Cause again, just like you said, look at this man. Anyway, just like Dan, just like you said, man, you're the head coach. You should be popping in. I think, like, my thing is, I'm not with hovering over people and everything, like, because I don't like that myself. Let me work. But at the same time, it's just like, as being the head coach of a football team, a leader of men, I think it's healthy to pop in on different things and at least have your hand in it and be able to talk about it. Like, y'all sat down and had a conversation. I understand you want to trust your coaches, give them all the authority. That's why you hired them, etc. But I really believe that was a time to step in and just be like, hey, man, how about this? Instead of taking Roddy out, how about we leave Roddy in and see if he actually can make the plays? Like, let's do it the right way. Because when guys regress and they have to be taken out because they're not getting it done, you can clearly see it and it's obvious. With Roddy White, he never even got that chance for real. Well, in practice, like Julio said, oh yeah, he'll route you up in practice, But when it comes to the big game, he never got his opportunity. Dan Quinn, as a head coach, I'm sorry, back then, you had to step in. And unfortunately, you did not. And things played out the way it played out. Then next thing you know, what? Roddy could have been a Raven, but he didn't want to leave Julio. He didn't want to leave the guys. Roddy was an ultimate team player. He could have been selfish, went to Baltimore. Like he said, hey, man, they got it cracking out there. But I didn't want to leave my dogs. He could have ended up in Tennessee with Harry. But honestly, if he I feel like if he knew about Andre Johnson's contract and how he was getting paid from the Colts, I believe Roddy might have would have took that deal. Who knows? But at the same time, you look at it, everything played out the way it did. I mean, Roddy, he never played in another uniform. Yeah, you hear he didn't even answer the phone for Belichick because he called him and he didn't even answer the phone. So again, I'm happy. I'm so thankful that Roddy is the type of player, the type of person that he is, because he could have picked up that phone for Belichick, and we could have been seeing him on that other sideline in the Super Bowl, guys. That would have been crazy.
That would have been karma at its finest.
Bro, you want to talk about the ultimate slap in the fans' face, not the organization, the fans' face.
But again, Roddy said it in the first episode. We talked about this. You got to have them tough conversations. And if you can't have a tough conversation as a head coach, you don't need to be a coach. Because at the end of the day, this is the team you're going to put on the field. This is the team you got to coach. So you got to make sure you're on the same page with all of these guys. If that's not happening, guess what? It's going to be a disaster waiting to happen. So it's just something to think about, man, because at the end of the day, what else can you do as a player when a coach is just determined to shut you out of the game plan when you've been here 10 years as well as just like Julio, he was here 10 years too. So when you put in a decade on a team, it's just certain respect that comes with that. That's just like the 49ers disrespecting Jerry Rice after the career he had. Even though they pushed him out the door, they probably sat down and told him and came to an understanding. He moved on and still had another 1,000-yard season with the Oakland Raiders. So he still had some left in the tank. And Roddy said he had at least 2 years left in the tank. And like I said before too, Larry Fitzgerald called him to possibly come down there and play in Arizona. Think about what Larry Fitzgerald did the last 3-4 years of his career. He moved to the slot, and that extended his career. And one of those years where he had right before he moved to the slot, I think one of the best postseason ever by a wide receiver was the year they made the Super Bowl, we talked about in 2008. Imagine if Roddy had that same chance to do that. We wouldn't even be having this conversation about Super Bowl because I said if Roddy is in that game, they're not going to shut down him and Julio. Really, they're not going to shut down either one. It's pick your poison at that point. So,
and then if we still had Roddy, Julio, and Turbo, man, we win. Are you serious? Right. Like we win.
Yeah, but see, sometimes these just selfish decisions. You're not thinking about the team. You're just thinking about yourself. And let's look at the Tennessee Titans when he said he was going to go. Guess who was already up there? Who called him? Terry Robisky, the former wide receiver coach of the Falcons. And Harry Douglas. Harry Douglas was already up there. Yeah. And he told the whole conversation and everything. So, I mean, and the crazy part about it, the way I see it, he stayed faithful to y'all even when y'all trashed him. He was hurt so bad, he really didn't want to go play nowhere else. Yeah, he thought about Tennessee. He talked up a contract. And when he said no, he was already made his mind up. He wasn't going to play no more. Why? Because he didn't want to move. He didn't want to get to know a new locker room. He was comfortable where he was. He would have played a lesser role in Atlanta just to stay in Atlanta.
Right.
And $5 million is lunch money to an NFL player of his caliber. So he only asked for what, $5 million?
And that's what I'm saying. But my thing is, you could have just let him play his contract out. His contract would have ended after the Super Bowl. So regardless of what happened, you could let him play his contract. That would have been such a magical and beautiful ending for Roddy White to win the Super Bowl and go right into retirement. as a Falcon.
Max.
That's what's supposed to happen. But it's too much like right, like the old like the old saying said. Too much like right. Too many egos, too many chiefs, too many guys that just feel like, this guy doesn't have it. And it was just crazy. I would have liked to seen if he really had it or not, because he didn't get that opportunity in 15. They wasn't throwing him the ball. There were times to where, you would see Roddy just on the sideline. And with Julio, I feel how he felt. I understand how he felt. They doing my dog wrong. And back then, when everybody definitely loved Julio, he was looking at it like, man, this is Roddy White they doing like this, because Arthur Blank telling Roddy White he's going to be a Falcon for life. I'm just saying.
Don't that sound familiar though? Did he tell Julio the same damn thing?
Man, it seems like everybody gets the same message. That's why, like honestly, this podcast, and the way I said it to you before we even came on, this podcast ain't doing nothing but opening old wounds and raising new questions.
Yeah, but it's also gonna make you think about this. Maybe this is why a lot of superstar players didn't want to come here and play. Because because think about it, players around the league talk. They may not be on the same team, but they're if they ran across each other and they know each other and they talk on a daily.
They got phone numbers. They got phone numbers. They got emails. They got text threads. They got text chats, group chats.
And that was gonna be my next point, Mike. The very next season, you go out and get Mohamed Sanu, and it's nothing against Mohamed Sanu. He was great in the Atlanta Falcons uniform, but I'm talking about an Atlanta Falcons legend. If you go out and sign Roddy White and he said he had 2 more years left on his contract. If he plays out those 2 years, he retires in 2015 or 16, which means he's on his team through that Super Bowl run, and he could have rode off in the sunset as a champion. And you robbed him of that because of ego. And this is the reason why Kyle Shanahan lost 2 Super Bowls in the fourth quarter, because of his ego. And now that I think about it, I said I wanted Kyle Shanahan as the coach, but listening to what they had to say, those nightmare stories, I would have dealt with him in my team. In San Francisco, they played pretty good and they put together a team, but now he's finna bite the bullet, because guess what? They rebuilding. So we finna really see how he stands up to this. And that's just right, Dre. It's 3 Super Bowls that he blowed. Absolutely, because I was won San Francisco twice. So
all right. So real quick, just to answer, I wanted to answer Tony Wright's question. All right. So apparently, it
was more than 5.
Yeah. I mean, his deal. I wanted to get the actual verbiage. The deal was worth 32.5 mil, 14 mil, which was guaranteed over the first 2 seasons.
That's 7.5 roughly.
7 million signing bonus, including making it 1 million in 2016, 6 million in each season, 17 through 19, and 6.5 in 2020. He also earned an additional 1.25 mil in incentives, and based on receptions over the final 3 years of the deal.
Okay, so Roddy had 2 years left on his contract, 16 and 17. So I was almost there. So yeah, he would have been Super Bowl and the next season where they lost to Philly. So yeah,
either way, regardless, you could have had a champion. And who knows, Roddy might have not even played 17. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, if they won a Super Bowl, he probably retired just like Jonathan Domino right after that.
That's what I'm saying. So he probably, who knows, he might have rolled off right in the sunset, because it would have been perfect. I mean, yeah, right. You come back, you could have did something like that, but my whole thing is, am I happy that Kyle Shanahan was our offensive coordinator? Yes, because it's smart mind. I mean, we got to the Super Bowl. We to this day, we still have a historic offense that we can be proud of. But behind the scenes, everything was just straight trash. Everything was disrespectful. You could have had a better team. You could have had a Super Bowl. You gotta make things make sense, and honestly, it made no sense for us to lose a beloved legend like the man pictured behind us, just because you felt like he was the fourth best option. And and it's so crazy because one thing about ego, it'll make you look like such a fool, because that 8-8 season, like Roddy even said, he started throwing it to those other guys. He really started doing that. Tammy, Hankerson, all that stuff, and guys wasn't coming up in the big moments. And we lost games behind it. We lost possessions behind it. And we went 8-8 in a season to where Julio was going out of his mind. Like,
that's an easy answer, Robert. The reason why nobody wasn't reporting on, they were keeping it in-house. And as players, they had to help with damage control, so they didn't speak on it during that time because they know it probably would have ruined the locker room and messed up their season. So they kept it to a T. And if you think about it, I think that's the season. I'm not mistaken. I think Roddy said it. They started off 5-0 or 5-0.
Yeah, that's we started off 5-0,
and they went 3-8 down the damn stretch.
Right. Sound familiar? I remember it. I remember that thing.
This is why. This is another reason why Raheem must get control of his team, because you can see the same thing happen to this team right here. We talked about familiarity with talent. Look at what's going on behind the scenes. Raheem better get control of his team, because you don't want another Dan Quinn situation where the offensive coordinator or anybody on the staff gets out of control.
Right.
And it could have happened with Jimmy Lake when he got fired. Who knows? But
and it kept up a bad taste in the mouth of and you think about it, and I just thought about this. The way that Dan Quinn didn't step in, and the way that everything happened with the Super Bowl, Kyle Shanahan just up and out of here, because Kyle Shanahan was gone before the Super Bowl mentally.
Yep.
So you think about it, that could be another reason why he didn't want the LaFleurs, why he didn't want all those guys, the McDaniels, why he didn't want none of Kyle Shanahan's guys in here, because he's like, man, I gave you the keys,
but you can't.
I know he's mad at himself, so he's taking it out on other situations.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
you can't punish one man for another man's mistake. You can't.
Never
and
know,
it came back to bite him. You never know. Mike McDaniel's a head coach. Matt LaFleur is a winning coach.
Right.
And my boy Sean, let's get it GA. He said it himself. Dan Quinn was never the problem. It was Kyle Shanahan and that coaching style and that ego. And also it was the personnel. You put all your money into 3 players, and we know Julio is the greatest. He could have took a pay cut, but he's Julio Jones, so I get it. Matt Ryan, he's Matt Ryan. He's the quarterback. He's going to get his money. I get it. But Deion Jones, yeah, he was one of the better linebackers in the league in the first 3 years. But after that 4th year, he got that contract. Straight downhill.
And we couldn't even pay for Aluakon.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody who was playing out of his mind. And we could not even we didn't even have the money to pay him. And we knew somebody was going to give him that check. And of course, Jacksonville did. Now I know Ford has went down a little bit, but at the same time, he could have been still a Falcon, because he was playing out of his mind as a Falcon. And even going back to the whole thing with Kyle Shanahan choosing everybody else over Roddy White, I respect the heck out of Roddy White for telling him exactly how it is to his face.
And that's what as a veteran,
daddy wouldn't do that.
Yeah, as a veteran, this is what you're supposed to do.
Daddy wouldn't do that.
Facts. But this is why I tell y'all, and Roddy made my point when I saw that second half of that video. Well, I had saw it, when we made the first show, but I wanted to hold on to it.
Right.
Y'all always talk about the Falcons bringing in older guys that's up in age. Y'all got to understand, these young players cannot grow that veteran at positions that they play at. It's true. They got coaches in the locker room. They got coaches in the film room. But those players on the field that are playing while the game is in progress, teach them as they go. This is why veteran players are important. Roddy said it himself. If Roddy comes in, and who was the rookie wide receiver that came in after Roddy White? They had Julio.
Ridley?
Ridley, that's who it was.
Yeah, Calvin
and
Ridley.
when Ridley was not ready to play, he said it was too much pressure, and we knew that. This is what led to the mental lapse to me. And now that we know, we see exactly what happened with Calvin Ridley and that mental lapse. He had somebody in Julio Jones that could take the pressure off him till he was ready. After they played together for that one season, Calvin Ridley, like you said in the last video, he balled the hell out. But with that number one mentality, that comes with a price. And Julio showed y'all that. Julio put forth his best foot every game, and he said it. He played games where he was 70-75% with a torn hamstring.
The man had a severed toe.
Exactly. And you just got to think about what comes with being a number one receiver. Just like a quarterback, a number one receiver, something goes wrong, you're going to get the blame. And Calvin Ridley was not ready for that. So Mike, listen, it's not
Calvin
about
Ridley. Calvin Ridley was not ready
up.
for it. No, Calvin Ridley wasn't ready for the spotlight. You know, the thing you got to think about it like this too. Just because you're drafted to be the guy doesn't mean you're ready to be the guy right then. You know, and honestly, Calvin Ridley, he was not ready to be the guy. I'm not taking anything. I'm not taking up anything away from the gambling, because I mean we already know that's just a no. I mean that's everywhere. You know what I'm saying? As far as being a player doing that, so we know that's a no. But with the mental lapses and all the stuff like that, I just feel like he wasn't ready. Well, in his mind, he wasn't ready to be a number one wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons on the team where Arthur Smith was the coach.
Yeah. And y'all get what y'all saying that Calvin gave up and he really not a number one. But
yeah, I mean, I can respect that.
If you take some of the pressure off of any receiver and let them perform like Julio, we talked about Julio. Julio is drawing double team. Same thing should have been going on with Kyle Pitts when Calvin Ridley got here. Should have been the same thing. If Kyle Pitts take some of that pressure off of Calvin Ridley, Calvin can perform, and at times he did. So imagine taking over a team trying to play behind a Hall of Fame receiver. That's not easy. Mentally alone, that's tough. Yeah, he's a good route runner. He has good hands.
That's why he needed his big bro.
Right, and that's why he carry a team, and no, he can't. But at the same time, he could have stepped up and still been a number one receiver and put up the numbers to play like a number one receiver here. We seen Darnell Mooney do it for part of last year, and he came over for Chicago really as a number 3 guy. But his mentality, he played as a number 1 guy playing next to Drake London last year. So it's all about how you prepare.
He had a chip on his shoulder too.
Exactly.
I mean, everybody thought. Well, a lot of people thought. I ain't gonna say everybody. A lot of people thought that, man, Darnell Mooney probably wasn't that guy. I know I came in the last season saying, man, one guy I'm looking at is Darnell Mooney because I want to see, was it him? Was it Justin Fields? Was it a mixture of the two? And and then midway through the season, I gave the man my his apology and everything. I'm like, sir, I did not know your game was like that, and I appreciate it being like that. So my thing is, you're not always going to be right about a guy. You're not always going to be right about a situation. But as long as you're able to come back and, you know what I'm saying, make sure that the apology is as loud as the disrespect as it is, hey, man, we all go.
And I'm glad you said that, because this is what we're going to close this off with. Julio asked the question, how do you make things, well, Harry asked him, how do you make things right between you and the Falcons? He said, do you see yourself fixing it? Julio said, no, I'm good. And a lot of people I saw them, they were mad about it, but you got to take from Julio's perspective. You're on a job for 10 years and you doing your job the best of your ability. You the shit at the company because you do everything flawless and do everything the correct way by the book. And your boss just walked up and you tell you, we got to let you go. You mean to tell me you're not gonna get mad? You're not gonna get frustrated? Would you still want a relationship with that manager in that company if they do you like that? No, you wouldn't. So Julio said, "No, I'm good." Because if you treated me like that, you show me who you are, and we don't have nothing to talk about. And I get it.
Man.
And we as fans, we got to suffer because of what they did. If they
Of
made the
course.
right decision with Julio, we as fans would not be suffering. So I get why he feel that way. But right quick, man, tell
Remember
me how
too.
you feel about Julio saying that he don't think, he don't worry about the relationship with the Falcons.
I mean, it is what it is, you know. I mean, just like even he said, it is what it is. My whole thing was y'all didn't have a conversation back then, you know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden you want to have a conversation with Julio after you trade him. Like that made no sense to me. Why have a Zoom call after I'm gone? We could have did everything while I was here regardless. So that
Right.
made no sense, you know what I'm saying, to even reach out to him about that. And the thing about it is he kept dodging everything. You heard Harry and Roddy. Hey, you gonna come with me and Rod, man? You gonna come with me and Rod? Come with you well. Hold on, listen to me. Let me just tell you what I enjoyed it. I had so much fun. You know, so I appreciate the loves from the fans and whatever and everything. They still trying to say, "Who we understand, but you coming with us." So you know that just that whole relationship is dead. There's
Because
only one way.
they looking at it as they looking at it from a fan standpoint. They know as fans, we still love Julio. We still want to see Julio. But at the end of the day, if somebody screwed you like they did him, why
I
would you
mean,
even want to support? Why would you even want to support that company? Like I said,
and
I
I
get it,
understand it,
and I don't
and
have
that's
a
what I'm
problem
saying.
with it. But
Right,
if
and that's what
Julio
I'm saying. Like,
ever did come back, I think it would be only for the fans. He probably still won't say nothing to nobody in the front office.
the
So
thing about it is, it's not going to happen. That ain't happening. You know, there's only
okay,
one way.
okay,
There's only
I,
one way
and I
that
know
it
what
will
you
happen.
finna say. Go ahead. But I know what you finna say. Go ahead.
Arthur Blank can't be here, and I'm saying on this earth, Arthur Blank
There
will
it
have to
is.
pass away
Exactly what
before
I
I
was just.
believe before Julio and the Falcons rectify the relationship. That's the only way I see it. At the end of the
And
day,
you left one
business is
name out.
business, and
You
personal is
left one
personal.
name out. You left one name out.
What are you talking about, Rich McKay?
Yeah, he
Well,
got to be gone too.
yeah, that too, but definitely, I feel like it's going to be against Arthur Blanks. And the last thing I have to say about this Julio situation, because I'm not talking about it no more after this, um, collectively, everybody is at fault. That's how I feel. I feel like, of course, Arthur Blank, Rich McKay. I start with those two. Then next, I'm sorry, I gotta move on to Julio. You play a part into this too, sir. I
Yeah,
mean,
he do.
you got your money and everything like that. You things could have been handled so many different ways. I understand. Even when you said when Shannon called you, hey man, I'm just thinking it's just me and you. We just shooting the breeze. At the end of the day, Shannon Sharp is not one of your brothers that was calling you. That was just a regular guy who played in the NFL. Y'all never played together. Y'all didn't play in the same era, anything. That still could have been handled differently. You didn't ever had to say I was out of there. But that's your prerogative. You're a grown man. You don't have to answer to me or anybody else. You know, so you do things your way. But you do have to take some ownership in this as well. You know, so you were mad about DQ. I know you was, and I understand that. That was your coach. But in the
But
state, business
that's a
is still business.
yeah, that's a front office issue. You can't do
Business
nothing
is
about
still
that.
business.
Yeah.
You know, so and then like I said, after that, then honestly, I move on to Arthur Smith. You know what I'm saying? For coming in, trying to kind of like bogart things, you know what I'm saying, the way he is, bro. You don't know nobody, and nobody don't know you. So, you know, I kind of get it like that, but that's where I am with it. Everybody has to take some of this
Form of
collective.
accountability. Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's not let's jump on the Julio train. It's not let's jump on the front office train. None of that. Everybody is at fault to me.
Like they always say, it takes two to tango, and that's the truth.
Bro. And in this
If
situation,
I
it took
and
4, 5 to tango.
what you told me about stories the other day?
Oh man, it's 3 sides to him. His story, and the truth.
That's
You know?
absolutely.
So
That's what I'm talking about, man. Look, past. But before we get out of here, man, look, Kirk Cousins, I think is over with at this point. Aaron Rodgers is going to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers for 1 year, probably. Don't know the money, the contract yet, but with what Pittsburgh has done this offseason, they have enough weapons to be decent on offense. And we know they're a defensive driven team.
Right.
So I think the Kirk Cousins fiasco is going to go away for a little while until injury or something pops up, or the Falcons just decide to say, hey, we done bit the bullet. We done paid him his money. Let's cut the rest of the ties and let's give him the last $10 million next year and we'll move on. Because today to be it was the nail in the coffin. He gonna sit here as a backup on the bench, fiddling with that iPad, looking at plays, trying to help Michael Penix. He's gonna be a $27.5 million head coach on the sideline.
Right.
Let's just call it what it is. So
again, we talked about it before. The highest paid backup, yeah, you know what I'm saying, darn near ever. Because I know what, even when Matt Flynn got his money way back then, became a backup behind Russell Wilson, it still wasn't Kirk Cousins' money. So
right.
At the end of the day, I believe, just like you said, Smitty, nail in the coffin, go ahead and throw the dirt on the grave, because it's going to take somebody to get hurt or somebody to play very, very bad to call up the Falcons. Go ahead and get, that Google tablet ready and a fresh, crisp, Falcon ball cap for old, Kirk Cousins to have on his head snug. Tell him to leave the helmet on the sideline. Do not have that helmet on. Like you about to come into the game, sir. It's time to get ready. It's time to get set. And that's just what it's going to be, man. Honestly, like you said in the beginning of the show, bro, the next time you will hear on a show Kirk Cousins' name, on a segment coming out of my mouth, he must have been traded.
Yep.
Or retired. Or retired.
I second that. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about it again. I done made my last hoorah. It was today. What about the trade destination from Jeremy Fowler and those guys? But Aaron Rodgers signed a contract, so 3 of those guys still have a chance. But Pittsburgh is out the deal. Before we get out here, Tony Wright says, so like what happened with the Raiders, great Marcus Allen didn't come back around Raiders organization until after Al Davis died, and son Mark Davis reached out to him to return. Absolutely. This is what we could be talking about, man. It's absolutely what we could be talking about. Because one thing about a sour relationship, it takes tragedy to fix some kind of some relationships. And that's sad to say, because as we always talk about in the community, no matter the race, we shouldn't have to come together when people pass away. You should come around, a little bit more often. And this is the type of situation it could have turned into. And why? Because 2 grown men couldn't sit down and talk and have a conversation. So I get it from both sides. So I can see it. But T. Terry, Colts got Daniel Jones. So I don't think they'll go out to Kirk. But they had a cap space, but I don't think they will unless they just don't trust Daniel Jones. Like I said, we could see Kirk move before
I don't
trade
trust Daniel
deadline.
Jones. So
and Anthony Richardson looking like a bust already. So that still could be on the table at some point this year. Just keep an eye out for that. T. Terry, the coach, could be still on that radar.
He has a shoulder injury. I wonder if it's still dealing from that surgery, or
probably so.
I wonder if it's something else going behind the scenes. They could be getting.
He probably got that chip on his shoulder he can't wipe off. But tell everybody where to find you, man.
Hey, man, A1 Forever Sports. You guys know that's the platform on YouTube. Please come on over. Give me a like, give me a comment, give me a subscribe, give me some watch time. Definitely always appreciate it and always need it, as continuously always trying to grow this channel. Of course, over 4,000, trying to get to 5,000 and beyond. So come on over to A1 Forever Sports. Hawks, Falcons, Braves. Just right now, I've been killing the Falcon content, but definitely still all involved in all the Atlanta sports.
Man, also, don't be telling them folk that, like, man, you killing that Hawks content too.
Hey, man, the Hawks Digest, just type it on in, Hawks Digest. We got plenty of videos over there, different trade scenarios, whatever articles definitely coming out. It's all about whatever is evolving around the Atlanta Hawks, really, even if it's far-fetched. We still at least give an opinion about it, how it could help, how it could hurt, So come on over to the Hawks Digest, definitely over there as well, man. But TikTok, the real A1 Forever, Instagram and Twitter, A1 Forever. And I guess if you're on Facebook, Chris Moore. Think I got 2 pages on there, so it's crazy.
Yeah, well, you balling like that. You sold out on one over 5,000, so you had to make another one. But
Not
but
balling. Even
Tony Rice
if
said,
I was balling, I wouldn't tell you I was balling. Not balling.
hey,
Not balling.
Tony Rice said, be on the lookout for Cousin and maybe be traded to Las Vegas to back up Geno Smith. I don't think he'll go nowhere to be a backup. I think he'll retire before he be a backup.
Man,
just keep it
he
real.
wants to play. He really wants to play.
But if he had a goddamn open his mouth, he'd probably still be he probably would have been able to been traded to a team before now. Because if he tells people
I feel like if he was willing to be a backup, he'd be gone already.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But the fact that he wants to start for Cleveland is like your only.
But for $20 million, I don't think nobody pay $20 million for no backup. Because think about it, another team gotta take on some of that salary. They say at least 10 to 15 million. Mm-hmm. That's good for a backup. But, I mean, look, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, man, y'all can find me on Smitty Sports Machine on YouTube, at FatBoySlim_21 on Twitter. Please go there because I'm almost about to blow it up. But also, man, I'm getting close to 15,000 subscribers, man, and I'm only a little bit over 100 away from 15,000, man. So y'all keep subscribing, keep sharing, keeping that like button to help me keep going through the algorithm. And we truly appreciate that, man. But me and Chris will be back soon, man, because these pop-up shows, we having fun with this, man. So look, if y'all see us in public, holler at us. Don't never be scared. But I told you to tell the Blank start calling you while you on the air.
It seemed like every time now, like, hey man, you've been doing too much on these shows.
See. But yeah, man, let us get on out of here, man, because we'll see y'all soon, man. Because trust me, more news gonna drop soon, and we're gonna holler at y'all.